landscape. It's almost been a revolution in and all the innovations and all the different things that have emerged. And I think the social media aspect of it all, and the sites like Bella, like Wings, like CommonSpace have been so important.
Very important. Very important. It gives a voice to, which you don't necessarily find in the media.
It's really important to democratise the media, because the media in this country, the press, is largely run by a very small group of very politically motivated moguls who are very wedded, of course, to a status quo of which they're part.
People are using them a lot more because the mainstream media showed itself to be really biased against the Yes campaign and against Scottish independence.
Considering mainstream media is dominated by Unionist voice, it does allow for an alternative view, not just an alternative independence view, but alternative views within the independence movement. Because it is a very broad church. The SNP may be a large faction of it, but it's not necessarily the sole voice when it comes to independence matters.
Some websites are becoming much more almost like established titles, because they operate under a banner, say Bella Caledonia. In the same way you'd have turned in the past to the Herald or the Times because you wanted to find a certain kind of writing, now you can turn to a website such as Bella Caledonia, knowing the kind of things you're going to find.
It's great in Scotland and elsewhere that there are new platforms where people who, I suppose, by the traditional media would be ignored, who can speak for themselves and talk about ideas which are otherwise brushed out of existence.
I just think there's no point in running away from it or being fearful of it, because it's the future.
I probably access nearly all of them because I think they're supremely important for the national debate and discussion we're having about Scotland's future. I mean, the innovation that we've had, the main innovation in the media, are all these new sites. And as much as possible, I try daily to have a look at these sites and take an interest about what the topics that's been taken up and the type of perspective that they bring.
There's things like Bella Caledonia, Wings Over Scotland.
Well, I access a lot of stories on the Bella Caledonia website. I find the website very informative. It's only probably a true place you can get the real news that they're looking for.
I access Wings Over Scotland a lot. Bella Caledonia, not so often, but anything like that, yeah, I'm interested in having a look to see what they've got to say.
I read a lot of Wings Over Scotland on Facebook. I find that very informative. It's a good take on things. It's opened my eyes to a lot of things I've never found out through other media outlets, Well,
but I love obviously Wings and Bella Caledonia, and I love Wee Ginger Doug. These are great sites. I mean, I practically don't have to write anything because they just put it in such better words than I could ever do, so you just tend to share them.
CommonSpace has probably been one of the more prolific ones just now. Wings has a big reputation.
I'm part of the Commonwealth, so I read a lot of the CommonSpace stuff as well. I find that very informative as well.
I like to keep abreast of a number of different news articles and websites. Bella Caledonia I've always kind of followed for quite some time.
I probably use Wings of Scotland maybe every second day at least, possibly every day. Same with Bella Caledonian as well. I usually read that every day as well.
And of course a lot of bloggers are getting their names, whether they're Wee Ginger Doug.
I probably would access things on Wings Over Scotland. I wouldn't sort of visit it every day, but I would tend to see maybe something that would be of interest, say maybe on Facebook, other people sharing links, and check something out if it happened to be of interest.
Fairly frequently, because I do Twitter, I do Facebook, so yeah, fairly frequently.
Just about every day. Even I'm not sitting there looking at it, but it's on. Twitter's on, and I'm maybe doing the hoovering or painting a wall or doing something, But it's on all the time. Because you just get that immediacy of news, which is so important, because it allows you to react quicker and better.
So it's a way of people getting more of a balanced view of what's happening in Scotland and in Scottish politics.
I mean, when you get the papers in the morning, they've already been blown apart, all the nonsense they sort of try and peddle.
It's very skewed, it's very biased, sometimes tells outright lies, so my opinion is very low.
Oh, I hardly even look at it now. I mean, I used to get the Scotsman daily, and I don't even click on their website now. It's just nonsense. Maybe I'll look at the sport, maybe look at the letters page, but certainly online I look at the Daily Record to see what nonsense they're spouting, because there's a lot of Daily record readers where I live, so you sort of need to be quite on the ball with them. But I barely look at it.
There's several significant issues with our national broadcasters and our mainstream media that I think really need to be addressed. I think that there's been a falling away of trust in the way that they used to dominate the national debate within Scotland. And what's happened with that is that space has been filled with some of the news sites who now command much more attention than some elements of the mainstream media itself. And I think it's a really encouraging move. I mean, what happens with the media, it naturally evolves and it shapes itself up and it becomes something else. And where we are in Scotland is in a particularly good place. We still have the traditional media, which is still available for anybody who actually still requires and secures that. And I still read the old media, of course, but what we have is a dynamic new media that's prepared to take up this agenda and give a perspective which maybe isn't available from the traditional established media. And I think it's a really healthy development and something I really am pleased to see in Scotland.
I think there's undoubtedly an extent to which traditional newspaper brands have lost the loyalty they once commanded, because there are now alternatives, and I think people are a lot more questioning now. But that's a matter for each individual masthead to get their head round and to work out how to regain that trust. I don't think that's gone forever. The question is, in building their own readership and trust, can the new media also bring a bit of professionalism to it, accuracy, the separation of comment and fact? I think these are all things that they've maybe got to learn.
There's no question that trust in the traditional media in this country is very low in Scotland and in England and Wales. And I think, obviously press circulation is in very sharp decline indeed, but lots of people have a strained relationship with broadcasters as well. And I think because of new technology, social media, video, YouTube, all the rest, I think that means, given how there's a lot of discontent politically at the moment, expressing itself in lots of different ways.
The greatest thing about new media, generally speaking, is it's how most people, particularly under 50, are getting their news and current affairs now. So the stuff that's been shared on social media through platforms such as Twitter and Facebook, and I mean things like Caledonia, Wings Over Scotland, and various other sites are really exciting for people to engage and to find out information and dig beneath the surface of the traditional press and television.
Well, I think the new media is quite exciting, it's very participative, it's very democratic. I think we as professionals engaging in it bring an expertise to it of legal issues, of political background that does add something to it, but we've got to recognise that our voice is no more valid than anyone else out there.
I think we have to realise that in society as a whole, the way in which we get information is changing, not just in politics but throughout everything. So you've got a fragmented media landscape, and in order to be representative of different voices in Scotland, we need different ways of doing that. And I would encourage it. It does mean that people will get more choice. It also means maybe need to take some time to figure out and assess which ones are going to be the outlets, voices that actually are going to chime with their views, and some of those will change in time as well. So there's no fixed landscape. Everything's kind of up for grabs.
Most older people are not au fait with technology and Twitter and Facebook and what have you, and I think that's one of the problems. They are only relying on the BBC, newspapers for their information, and they don't necessarily get the full picture. But how to overcome that is something else again. I don't know. The only way is, by canvassing, going out to doors and so on and so forth, to try and encourage them to see a different perspective.
It's absolutely vital from a personal perspective if we're going to win independence, because it's so difficult getting through our national newspapers that tend to be owned by very vested interests who are not interested in a lot of the things that we need to learn about Scotland. And that also goes for public organisations such as the BBC. So it's vital in order to get beneath the skin of stories and things that are going on in the country. So that's the first thing. So I would say it's hugely important. And I think the second thing is it's got a massive future. The fact that under 24-year-olds are less watching TV and much more on computers is showing the way forward. And in a generation from now, our TVs will be used for many other things, probably for the kind of things they do on the phone and what we're traditionally used it for before. So digital media is the way it's going to go, and I'm really, really excited about that.
That's where the action is at the moment, and it's where it's going to be forever now. I suspect the final demise of the printed paper is perhaps coming sooner than I thought it would. I thought there'd be another at least 10 years. I'm now not so sure. But whether we're reading things on tablets, on our phones, on our laptops, that's not really the point. The fact is it's good writing, it's breaking stories, it's informed opinion, and where you get it from doesn't really matter as long as it's valid.
I think the fall away of the mainstream media has left a hole in a vacuum which has been taken up by a lot of pioneers and innovators who are able to put out this fantastic amount of information and start that conversation. And I think there's been a really useful development. And I think we're way ahead of the game compared to other nations, that we managed to secure this type of new space in our conversation about our country. And it's incredible what these new websites have been able to do.
Those of us who want a different sort of society should use and exploit as best as possible these alternative means to give a platform to ideas which we just otherwise aren't going to hear from, and that's let 1,000 flowers bloom. That's how it should be.